You may heard about Terraform and Ansible. These are great tools and have different purpose of usage. We can use them both together to manage our infrastructure. You can also use Terraform and Ansible standalone, but it is a better method if you use it together to manage your infrastructure as a code resources. Terraform is an open source tool for building, changing, and versioning your infrastructure safely and efficiently. If you're working as a DevOps engineer or you have to create resources in the cloud using Terraform, then it's the best method. With Terraform, we can manage our infrastructure as a code, and this make it easy to maintain and update our systems and the resources on the cloud. So in that format, you have always the codes, and you can also deploy these same resources on many different cloud providers. So Terraform uses a HashiCorp configuration language for its configuration. So basically most of the code will be written in this format. But we can also use our scripts in this language. And these scripts can be executed during the deployment of our Terraform configuration. And the files which contains our configuration called Terraform configuration files, and it ends always with .tf format. So using configuration files, we can create or destroy. So destroy means here with the Terraform destroy, you can delete all the resources that you created with the configuration files. And we can also save our files, these configuration data files locally, which is not a good method to do it, but for a beginner, it is a best practice. So it's not a best practice for a beginner, but you can start just to store your the configuration files locally. But if you want to share with others in a group or a team, then it is a best practice if you use Git or GitHub. And also there is another opportunity which Terraform provides. It's a Terraform Cloud, and you can store also your configuration there. Terraform using providers for communication between cloud providers and to send its configuration there. So providers are actually like a plugins that enables interaction with APIs. This includes cloud providers and software as a service providers. And these providers are specified in the Terraform configuration language. Google Cloud, Amazon, or Azure. So if you're working, for example, with the Azure, then you need the Azure provider for Terraform configuration files. On the website of the Terraform, you can find all the providers and also a very good documentation. You can use the documentation to go through each provider and how to create resources or how to delete them or how the authentication works on them. So after you create a configuration files, let's take it, for example, you want to create a resource, for example, a virtual machine. So then you use the provider. On the configuration file, you specify which provider you want to use. So you use also this specific method of authentication on that. You can use also certificates for this purpose. For example, if you want a machine, it could be Linux or a Windows machine, virtual machine. So you can use Azure, and this machine will be created with a specific configuration which you define in the configuration file. Ansible is also for configuration management, and this also use configuration files to manage the configuration. We can use Terraform to create resources or delete them, but after the creation, so we have to maintain these all resources. For that purpose, we can use Ansible. So Ansible is also an open source software platform which can be used by anyone for automating and configuring computers or servers. Ansible uses a simple human-readable language called YAML to describe the desired state of the system. In this concept of Ansible, we use control. So it's a machine where the Ansible is installed there. So and all configuration and task will be stored on that control machine. And then from the control machine, we use a SSH protocol to connect to other servers. So it could be nodes, or they call it node. So you can use it also. This can be a server, a virtual machine, doesn't matter. But you have to use SSH protocol. After you have a valid SSH connection to another computer or a server, then you can execute the tasks and roles which you created on your control computer. As I said before, so we store all our configuration.yaml file and scripts on our control computer, and through that we apply them using SSH on the other node or servers. So basically we have one place to control all the other resources. A best practice is here using a public and private key. So basically you create a private key on your control computer and you send your public key to the servers which you want to control them. And this is the best way to use it. You can use also password authentications, but that is not a good way. So if you want to work efficiently and faster and securely, so you can use public and private key. Ansible is really a perfect tool for a system administrator, and also if you are working as a DevOps professional. So between Terraform and Ansible, there are some differences. What is the main difference is the way how they works, how they execute the code is. Terraform use declarative format and Ansible use imperative format. What it means declarative. So in declarative programming, a programmer or administrator specifies what a program should do rather than how it should do it. So in declarative programming, the focus is on the problem being solved rather than the specific steps need to solve the problem. So this allows the programmer to specify the desired outcome, and the Terraform will determine the necessary steps to achieve the outcome. So on the other hand, we have imperative programming. In this kind of programming, a programmer or administrator will specify how a program should solve a problem using exact steps and control flow. In imperative programming, the focus is on the specific steps needed to solve the problem rather than the problem itself. This requires the programmer to specify the exact sequence of steps that the program should follow to solve the problem. So it means if you have Ansible configuration file, it will start from the top and will go through each step until it reaches the end of the configuration file. On the next episode, I will create a website, a simple website using HTML and CSS, and this website will be deployed using Terraform, creating the infrastructure first, provisioning a virtual machine on DigitalOcean cloud provider, and then I will use Ansible to deploy and configure our website on that provisioned resources. On that way, you will see how Ansible and Terraform can work together to get a better result.